You know, if there was one silver lining in terms of this coronavirus outbreak, is at least it's making my commute much better. Because today, it only took me 40 minutes to commute from where I work down in Santa Clara to get back home, which normally it takes twice as long to do that. And I think this is probably the first time today where I didn't have to deal with traffic on the 101, and I didn't have to deal with crazy driver that decided to just cut right in front of me just because they want to save a couple of seconds of going back home. So at least that's kind of some silver lining in terms of this whole outbreak, and at least that's also kind of refreshing to see. But we know that there's a lot of bad things that is going on with this outbreak, and that's where we get into the first topic of the news of the week, where we knew this was going to happen. We knew eventually there's going to be teams that's going to start postponing or playing some of their game behind closed door because of this whole coronavirus outbreak. And the Seattle Sounders and the San Jose Earthquakes are the first two teams to do that, as they have postponed their upcoming home match, which both of them are going to be playing their upcoming home match on March 21st. But now it's not going to happen because of the whole coronavirus situation. So the good news about this is that at least fans that want to see both of these teams play on March 21st, at least this game is going to be rescheduled to another day where they're not going to, like, for fans that of course pay to go to this game, or if you're a season ticket holder like I am with the Quakes, at least I'm not going to have to miss one of these games because of the fact that it's going to be postponed to another day. And by the way, the Quakes, they actually announced this about 40 minutes after the Sounders did. And the funny thing about it is that I was about to tweet saying that the Sounders decided to postpone their match, and I thought it was going to be a matter of moments before the Quakes are going to do the same thing. And just as I was about to tweet that out, the Quakes exactly announced that they are going to postpone their game. So, yeah, the Quakes obviously also said that they don't know exactly when they are going to postpone their game and what day it's going to be. But I have a feeling it's probably going to be a midweek game because I know SKC don't have a weekend empty slot open for the rest of the season. So most likely it's going to be in the middle of the week. I just hope it's not during a time where the Quakes are like in the middle of a road trip and that they decided to put that during the middle of the week and that they have to, of course, travel back on the road. And I guess maybe the other bad news for some people that, of course, would want to attend this game on a future day that it was originally postponed is now they probably can't attend it because it's in the middle of the week. And middle of the week is always very tough for fans to attend the game, and attendance are always not as good when it is doing the weekend game. But, you know, what can you do? I mean, these teams, obviously, I knew that as much as I heard the fact that there's possibility that these teams want to play these games behind closed door, I don't think it's going to happen most likely because most of these teams, if they play games behind closed door, they're going to lose a lot of revenue in terms of match day. Like, they're going to lose revenue in terms of the ticketing, they're going to lose revenue in terms of merchandise, and they're going to lose revenue in terms of concessions doing match day. And I just feel like even though they're probably still going to lose some when they play it on a future day, at least they're not going to lose all of that revenue that they could generate, or that they could, of course, lose if they are playing the game behind closed door. But it's going to be interesting to see, are we going to see a couple more teams that is going to follow suit, and if there is going to be more news about a couple of teams potentially going to do it, or the fact that they're going to actually play some of these matches in the next couple of weeks and say that they, of course, are trying to tell their fans to be aware of this whole coronavirus situation. I, of course, will mention either in the previews or the review or even during the news of the week. Now, the other news about the whole coronavirus outbreak that's affecting MLS is that MLS have also announced they're going to be limiting locker room access, and this is actually something that it's not just MLS is doing. Pretty much every single professional league here in the States are doing that. So NFL, NBA, and MLB are going to... Well, MLB eventually will do it once that they start their season, but I know the NHL and NBA is exactly doing that, where they're limiting locker room access for media to access because of this coronavirus outbreak. So yeah, this is something that I think MLS, they didn't really had a choice, because they saw how other leagues are trying to do that, and that they're eventually going to kind of almost force their hands to do it, so that they of course won't get backlash from either the fans or either from other fans from the other league. That why in the world does MLS not do that when other leagues around the country is doing exactly that? But moving on, in terms of now kind of shifting away in terms of the whole coronavirus talk, is that the Colorado Rapids have officially acquired William Yarborough. So, Yarborough, of course, he's been rumored of going to the Rapids, and at first I didn't think that he was going to go there, because of the fact that we have heard the story about Yarborough coming to MLS, and it just never kind of really comes to fruition. But it finally did this time, and that the Rapids of course have acquired him, and it will be interesting to see how he is going to do with the Rapids, and especially he's going to have a competition with Clint Irvin in terms of that goalkeeping position. And if you're the Rapids and Robin Fraser, this is going to be a difficult decision that you have to make. Like, do you decide to keep Clint Irvin behind the stake, or the fact that you're going to decide to give William Yarborough a chance? I'm assuming most likely they're going to keep Clint Irvin, but if Irvin decided to struggle, then it's going to open the door for William Yarborough to potentially take his spot. And that, again, we shall see what's going to happen in terms of the goalkeeping situation. And that, I feel like, as I said before, I don't think Clint Irvin is a bad goalkeeper, and that, I thought he at some point last year was actually better than what Tim Howard was behind the stake. But it seems like the Rapids feel like he might not be good enough, and that they want to bring William Yarborough just for an insurance case. But should be a very interesting goalkeeping competition that is going to be going down in Colorado, to see who exactly could be the long-term goalkeeper for this Rapids team. Atlanta have signed former Crew striker J.J. Williams in the wake of the Joseph Martinez injury. Now, I know for a fact that J.J. Williams, almost like J.J. Martinez there, but I know J.J. Williams probably won't be the guy that is gonna totally replace Joseph Martinez. I think it's going to be potentially a rotation between Adam John and J.J. Williams to see who is going to be fit in that spot. But I'm kind of surprised the fact that Atlanta are not really thinking about going after a striker that could potentially get get him a loan deal, and that he of course will be spending there for a year, and then later on they of course will figure out if they decide to want to keep them, or the fact that they're just going to bring Joseph Martinez. But I guess maybe the reason why they aren't able to get that done is because it's not easy to try to just get a 1-year loan deal, and it's not easy to just tell this guy that, hey, we want to loan you to our club for 1 year, but most likely after that year we're just going to get rid of you, because we're going to bring back our goal scoring king, and that our goal scoring king should be ready to back to match fitness. So Atlanta obviously is in a little bit of a situation, but hopefully for the remaining of the season, whether if they're going to potentially get a striker, or the fact that they're just going to hope that both of these guys, JJ Williams and Adam John, might be the guy that is going to hold that spot. Or, as I said before with Atlanta, the other option that they could also do is play a false nine, either put Pity Martinez or Barco in that spot. But I'm assuming probably they're not going to do that just yet, because they have never really tried to play a false nine before, and if Frank DeBoer want to try to play this formation, they need to have some times in terms of developing that. The Red Bulls signed left back Jason Pendon from Liga 2 side, and originally when I saw this news, I thought this was probably the Red Bulls replacement of Kamar Lawrence that they lost during this offseason. However, the fact that he, of course, was signed from a League 2 side, not even a League side, makes me kind of question the fact that whether if this is actually the replacement for Kamar Lawrence, and that, I guess maybe the reason why they want to sign some defender and sign left back is the previous left back that they've been playing in the first couple of games hasn't been very good, so they decided to see if he, of course, would work out. And, I'm not going to say that he's going to really replace Kamar Lawrence, because, again, he is a guy that I have never heard of before, and he comes from a second division side in France, which the second division in France is right on balance in terms of what MLS is, but is he going to be a guy that is just going to come in and fill in, could potentially fill in the spot that Kamar Lawrence no longer occupied? It'll be very interesting to see if that is going to be the case, and we'll see whether or not if that is going to be a case. DC United have rumored to acquire Ireland international center back Derek Williams, and I guess DC, the reason why they really want to get a defender is they saw how the first two games and how their defense looked pretty bad, and that it seemed like maybe I wouldn't say this is kind of a panic buy for them, but it feels like they really need to try to solidify that back line, and that maybe Derek Williams could be an answer. I mean, his previous club at Blackburn Rovers, I don't really follow kind of like the lower league of England a lot, but I heard some people say he was decent, and then there were some people said that he wasn't really decent, so it will be interesting to see whether or not if he's going to be coming to MLS, and that, there isn't a lot of players that is coming from the lower league of England and come to MLS, and that they would have incredible success. But we shall see whether or not if this deal is going to happen, and if it does happen, whether or not if this could be a good fit for DC in terms of fixing that back line that has looked very, very bad in the first two games. Jorge Moreira and Milton Valenzuela, unfortunately, are both out because of a knee injury. But good news for Portland and Columbus fan is that I believe Jorge Moreira is only going to be out for 2 weeks, while Milton Valenzuela should be back in about 4 weeks. So it's not really a long-term injury that both of these guys is going to suffer, but still, it's kind of a little bit of a blow for both of these teams, losing two very, very good players on their team, and especially Milton Valenzuela, who, this guy just cannot catch a break in terms of injury. Like, he just came back of that torn ACL injury that he suffered with the Crew last season, and just as he's about to come back on the field, he suffered another knee injury, and that he's going to be at least out for 4 weeks before he's going to be back with the Columbus Crew. Now, if you're New England, I do have some good news in terms of the injury department, and that, of course, is Carlos Gil is set to return after he is back in training for the first time this season, and this definitely is good news for New England. Consider, I think in the first two games they really missed Carlos Gil, and especially the creative part in this team, and now that he, of course, would be back, which I'm not saying that he's probably going to start this weekend, but at least if he's going to be good enough to come off the bench and make an impact for this team, this got to be great news for New England, that, as I said, they really miss him for the first two games, and it's good the fact that he's now back with this team, because he is a very vital player for the Revs. Iko Parra, of course, won MLS Player of the Week, which is not a big surprise, because I, of course, witnessed him scoring those two headers, which, I'm going to say this, as much as those two headers were amazing of what Iko Parra just kind of jumped his defender, let's also not forget that those were some of those goals that he has scored is a combination of just amazing skill, the fact that he can time his jump and able to out jump his defender, and also the Quakes just fell asleep in terms of set piece. But still, I think he definitely deserved the Player of the Week, especially not only he bossed the defense area in that game against the Quakes, but he also scored two crucial goals and end up actually he didn't score the winning goal. I was actually thinking about the last goal that he scored. But at that point, it was already making 5-2. At least I would say that he pretty much scored the goal to kind of kill any hope that the Quakes can come back in the second half. Benny Feilhaber announced his retirement at the age of 35, and Benny Feilhaber, he's been depending on who you actually support, he could be one of your most well-liked player in the league, or he could be one of your most hated player in the league. For me, I actually do like Benny Feilhaber, and it's kind of a shame the fact that when he was with the U.S. men's national team and early on in his career with the U.S. men's national team, he had so much potential to be a decent midfield for the U.S. men's national team, but for the next couple of years, it seems like he's kind of maybe, well, I wouldn't say he kind of lost a step with the national team, but it's a combination of Michael Bradley kind of took over his spot and never gave his spot back. Yeah, that's why his national team kind of dreams started to fade away, and that, it's kind of such a shame the fact that in his very last year that it seemed like wherever the club that he actually went to actually started to do very badly, but as soon as he leaves, the club started to do much better. I mean, last year with Colorado, when he was with the Rapids could not win a game. But as soon as Feilhaber was traded to Sporting KC, Colorado started to be much better, and we're seeing the same thing with Sporting KC this year too. As soon as he is no longer with Sporting KC and announces retirement, Sporting KC is being better. So I'm not going to say that Benny Feilhaber was the reason why both of these teams were bad, but it's kind of a little bit of a coincidence, the fact that as soon as he leave one of the club that he used to play for instantly become better once he left. The Nation League semifinal and final will be playing in Houston and Dallas. I believe the semifinal will be played in Houston, and it will be played both at BBVA Compass Stadium and Reliance Stadium. And the one in Dallas, it's not going to be playing in Frisco and in Toyota Stadium, but instead it's going to be playing at AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happened. First of all, since the fact that the venue is going to be down in Texas, and if Mexico does meet the US, be prepared for a pro-Mexico crowd, because Houston and Dallas has long known to be an area where if the U.S. play Mexico, or if Mexico play another team, you're going to see a lot of Mexican that is going to be at that game. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the U.S. Soccer Federation are not going to be happy the fact that CONCACAF decided to choose the venue, even though they choose it in their own country. They literally choose in an area that it's going to most likely have pro-Mexican crowd, but what can you do? I mean, after all, this is CONCACAF, which to me is one of the worst confederation in my opinion, and it's right on par of the U.S. Soccer Federation as competing as one of the worst and one of my most hated federation in my life. And finally, the U.S. U23 roster was announced for the Olympic qualifier that is going to be happening in a couple of weeks down in Guadalajara. And they actually announced this during the LAFC versus Union game, and they kind of made a big deal out of it. Like, they said that we are going to announce this roster, and almost as if they're announcing a roster that's going to be going to the World Cup. But, they of course announced it, and I'm not really going to go into too much detail. In fact, I'll probably won't even go into any detail in this video. If you, of course, want to check out that roster, you can, of course, find it on MLSsoccer.com or even on the U.S. men's national team page. But the reason why I don't want to go too deep into it is because, my morality with the U.S. Soccer Federation has been very low, and also there's a big possibility that the Olympics could be canceled or postponed this year because of the whole coronavirus outbreak. So, this Olympic qualifier could potentially just be a waste of time if that is going to be the case. But yeah, we shall see how the U.S. is going to do and whether or not if they can actually qualify for the Olympics, which is something that they haven't done in a while. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the news on this board, and have I missed any news that has happened in the last week that I didn't put on the board? But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.